Creating and filming videos, especially as small creators, can be very daunting. And no doubt you will make many, many mistakes along the way.
But that's okay, because that is where editing comes in.
So folks, are there any things that really, really annoy you when you're watching a video and cause you to turn off instantly that aren't adverts?
We have a number of mistakes we're going to go through, but we're also going to leave you with some tips and tricks, things we've learned along the way to try and remedy these problems while you're doing your edit. And we're going to start, I think, today with audio, because as we like to say, audio is 50% of video. And I think that's especially true for me. I'm somebody who does a lot of my YouTube viewing in the morning when I'm cooking breakfast. So I have my phone or my tablet up and I have something playing in the background. So I'm listening to it and I'm kind of glancing at it every so often. So if the audio on the video I'm watching happens to not be good, I personally notice that immediately.
Yeah, sensors work in very different ways, Dan, don't they? If you close your eyes, you turn off your visual sense, but you can't really close off your ears, so they're very sensitive to all of the audio coming through on a video. So if you hear peaking, shouting, staccato noises, that can all be very distracting for a viewer.
Yeah, it definitely can. We recently have been looking at this a lot because every Wednesday now we've been testing out doing video reviews on the channel where we actually go into people's videos. And just this week, we saw somebody make the classic mistake of adding music to their video, but they didn't quite balance the audio right, and the music was almost as loud as them.
I remember during that stream, Dan, I was doing this as I was watching the video. You know that thing where you just put your ear to the screen as if that's going to help you hear what's going on? It never
with
does.
headphones.
With headphones, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't help. It doesn't work. My additional tip to this would also be to listen to your video before you render it with headphones and without headphones, because users are going to be using all kinds of different ways to listen to your video.
It could be that you have 2 or 3 different audios playing at the same time. Your voice, your music, sound effects. Usually your voice wants to be louder than the music. Sound effects probably a little louder than the music, but not as loud as your voice. And that takes practice and experimentation to get that sounding just perfect. All right, then the next one, being too greedy, in the sense that you film a lot of stuff and you want to use all of that stuff in your videos.
Yeah, there's a phrase I've actually heard quite a bit in recent history, and that is kill your darlings. And this phrase comes from the idea that, yes, you shot some like incredible stuff, but sometimes your video is better if you just choose not to include those things, especially if you've tried to fit everything in your timeline and you realize, wow, I have too much B-roll because I'm just switching from shot to shot to shot to shot to shot. Or, wow, I made my video 20 minutes long and it was only supposed to be 10 minutes long.
Yeah, that's what we've found out as well in our video audits. From the intro, we can usually surmise that the video as a whole should be half as long as it is. The next time you edit a video, and let's say it's 8 minutes, try to be ruthless. See if you can get it down to 6 minutes, even 4 minutes.
This one's going to be, I would say, very subjective, because music itself is very subjective, but I want to talk about unsuitable music. And I think this could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Yeah, can you remember, Dan, a couple of weeks ago when we were kind of reviewing each of his videos? I was 20 seconds into a video that you were editing, and I started to hear this in the music. And I was like, the last thing I want to hear from music is whistling while I'm trying to listen to somebody talk. And that also extends itself out to lyrics. If somebody's singing in a song, it doesn't tend to marry well with narration on a video.
Yeah, that the whistling, it almost doesn't matter how much you lower that song. If you can hear the song, you can hear the whistling. Speaking of that library of songs, my library of songs was mostly curated from the YouTube audio library. And these days, there's a lot of different services you can get to that have music for you that you can use in any of your videos, and it's fully licensed. And what I would recommend, because another mistake I've found myself making is spending hours and hours and hours trying to pick the right songs for a video.
Yeah, that can be so frustrating, Kai, when you're like in the middle of an edit and then you think, I need this type of song. And then you spend an hour trying to find it. Oh, infuriated.
It's miserable. So it's really good to take like a day or two and make that the day that you get all of your music that you're pretty much going to use on your channel all the time. And then every so often you can go and refresh that library. But I think the last thing you want to be doing is making those decisions in the heat of the moment when you have a video that needs to go out like tomorrow.
And also consider the different styles, tones, beats, speed, cadence of music. The best editors are able to use multiple styles of music within the same video to speed up the storytelling, to slow it down, and even stop the video dead to emphasize a point. All right, let's get into some more visual stuff. Obviously, when you're recording, you'll do multiple videos and footage, and you need some way to transition from one to the other. And this can be done very simply with a jump cut, or you could slide to the left, slide to the right, zoom in, zoom out. But sometimes being a little over enthusiastic with your transitions can end up being very distracting.
I think rookie editors fall prey to this a lot because you get new editing software and you're learning how to use it, and then you find the animation libraries with all the transitions and all the fun stuff. I could do some things with this and some stuff. And so you do. It's really easy to go overboard once you start to incorporate these things and you're kind of still learning how to edit.
We encourage that you should always include unique aspects to your content, be it sound effects, graphics, transitions, but you have to use them sparingly, because the more unique it is, the more grating it becomes when you repeat it.
I think we should talk about dead air.
Oh, you mean that type of dead air?
Yes, all types of dead air. The dead air that people tend to not remove from their videos. And this can come in the form of pausing a lot, thinking about, you know, what you're going to say next. Maybe you didn't script your video, so you stop a lot. You can totally cut these out by using jump cuts in your content.
When you're doing this, through your editor, you should be able to see the sound waves of when you start talking and stop talking. And in my experience, you want to try and be as up to the line as possible, like milliseconds before and after you start speaking. That's where you want to try and do your cut. However, you can be a little too ruthless with cutting out dead air to the point where you don't allow the video to breathe and have those natural pauses, that conversational style, and everything is just very hot and fast. This can be good for short form content, but for longer form content, you do want to allow that video a little bit of breathing space.
So one thing you can do if you find yourself with a lot of jump cuts and you're like, this looks terrible, it looks really choppy, is you can actually incorporate B-roll over the video. So let's try something right now, Rob. I'm going to talk really painfully slow. What I want you to do while I do that is just give our editor some footage of you just kind of smiling and nodding at the camera. Okay, so here we go. I think that video editing can be kind of cool. What you probably heard was not painfully slow, because in post-production, we went in and we cut all that down to one complete sentence that didn't take me forever to say. And then Rob was the one over that footage, giving us some B-roll of him smiling and nodding. And when we say B-roll, that's what we mean. I was giving Rob the A-roll there, me talking, and Rob was providing fabulous B-roll.
And just to give you a little idea of how much we are editing down this recording, we've currently recorded 14 minutes of footage, and the video is probably not going to be 14 minutes in length total. All right, let's go a little bit more advanced with this next editing mistake, and that is color grading. This is where you manipulate the original footage to make it brighter, darker, you saturate certain colors. And many of the advanced video editors can do that, but it does lead to potential problems for the viewer.
I thought the next mistake was going to be continuity errors, so I like to taken off my headphones, but I guess we can talk about color. Color grading is something that even I'm still like trying to refine. I think it's a skill that just takes a long time to learn, and if it's something you're interested in getting, you know, into, you want to watch some tutorials. This is something you really want to educate yourself on. I really do think it's a skill you develop over time. What I will say though is that if, let's say, you have a video and you really like the way it looks on your computer monitor, you don't know for sure if it's going to look the same when someone's watching on their phone or their TV, right? The idea is you can use your editing software once you're really good and start to understand the different scopes and tools in your editing software to make sure that you are working with the true colors that you think you're seeing on your screen.
Another thing you can do is put yourself in the viewer's perspective. Take that video that you've just finished, edited, color graded, and watch it through a mobile phone, on a tablet, on a television. How is that viewing experience going to look for the average viewer? Hang on, I thought we were doing continuity errors.
For this next one, I would say that if you've been watching vidIQ videos for the past maybe like 6 months or so, you've probably noticed us doing this a lot. What we've been trying to do is find a more consistent style with the graphics that you see on the channel.
We do channel audits on Tuesdays, and we see this ad nauseum on thumbnails where each one looks completely different, so it doesn't have a branding consistency, and that goes into your videos. We call this house style. So you may want to spend a day deciding on specific fonts that you're going to use on your videos a certain color palette. If you're going to download some lower thirds, make sure that they all come from the same pack. So again, you have that consistency. We talk about consistency everywhere: titles, thumbnails, channel focus. This is another opportunity to commit to consistency with your graphics and your styling.
Going back to the video reviews you mentioned earlier, a mistake we see all the time are people who haven't really gotten the hang of using different varying shots yet. They kind of just sit down in front of their camera and they don't move. And I can tell you, I'm guilty of this. I have a space that's not really great for recording except for right here. I don't use a lot of varying shots. I sit the camera down, I stand in front of it or sit in front of it, and that's the whole shot. That's the whole video.
There's a couple of ways to solve this. You can use what's called B-roll. On top of that, you can start to play about with this frame. You can zoom in, zoom out. I can go to the left, I can go to the right. So it resets the viewer's pattern interrupts that we talked about as well. Because not every creator has multiple cameras, or they're not running and gunning where the scene is constantly changing.
Another rather technical aspect of video editing, and something that could take some practice as you start to make your first videos, is understanding the right formats that you can use to render out a video.
Yeah, usually if you just render through the defaults in your video editor, that's fine, but you'll probably want to experiment at some point. And just to give you an insight into some of the technical aspects of YouTube videos, you can now render up to 8K. I do wonder how long it would take to process one of those videos. And in terms of frame rate, you can go from 24 all the way up to 60. So unless you're wanting to intentionally do something weird with your content, you know, you wanted to mess around with the video speeds and have like weird frame rates, make sure you keep it within those limits.
Now, those were just some of our editing mistakes, but there's a lot more mistakes we've seen YouTubers make. And if you want to solve those, you can start by going to this video right here.
Pew, 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 pew. I missed.